Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I'm so thrilled you're joining me today because, wow, we are tackling one of the most frustrating, mysterious, and honestly just common issues in the whole gardening and agricultural world. Today, we're essentially putting on our doctor's coats for a full-blown, medical-style diagnosis and rescue operation for dying crops. If you've ever watched a beloved plant just slowly fade away and felt completely helpless, you'll want to stick around because this explainer is absolutely going to change the way you look at your garden forever. So why is your tree dying despite all your hard work? I mean, you water it, you meticulously weed the area, maybe you even talk to it, but the leaves keep turning yellow, the branches are drying right up, and it looks like it's just giving up on you. The frustration of this kind of mysterious plant decline is incredibly common. But the secret to solving this mystery? It's not up in the sky, and it's not actually on the leaves. It's hiding right there beneath the soil. All right, to save our patients, we need a strict treatment plan. Here's our agenda for today. First, we'll identify the silent killer. Second, diagnosis, fungal rot or suffocation. Third, emergency triage. Fourth, a rehabilitation diet. And finally, preventative medicine. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The silent killer, identifying the symptoms. Okay, let's dive into this. To save a failing plant, we first have to recognize that it is in fact failing at a structural level. We're looking for the physical symptoms of root collar distress, that exact critical point where the stem meets the root system. Just take a look at the visual evidence right here. We're seeing severe yellowing of the leaves and, crucially, rotting right down at the base, the root collar. When this specific area rots or gets suffocated, it completely shuts down the plant's vascular system. It literally cannot absorb water or nutrients no matter how much you feed it. The top of the plant is essentially starving to death because the bridge at the bottom is completely broken. So what are the vital signs that tell us the root system is actively failing? Well, watch for leaves shifting from a healthy dark green to yellow or brown, and then just dropping off. Also, check the base of the stem for shrunken black spots or areas where the bark is actually cracked with these red-brown borders. That cracked base is a massive, definitive warning sign. And overall, if you're seeing stunted growth, if the plant just isn't pushing out any new life at all, your plant is screaming for help. Moving right along to Section 2, diagnosis, fungal rot or suffocation. Now that we know our patient is sick, we need to know exactly what is attacking it. We're moving into the diagnostic phase. Fungal root rot versus deep burial suffocation. How do we actually tell them apart? Well, fungal rot, which is often caused by nasty pathogens like Rhizoctonia or Fusarium, is an active infection. It absolutely thrives in wet, poorly drained soil, spreading super rapidly and turning those roots to black mush. Deep burial suffocation, on the other hand, is entirely physical. This happens when the root collar, basically the plant's main breathing hole, is buried way too deep under the dirt. You'll see those cracked bases and sap just oozing out, a condition known as gummosis, because the plant is literally gasping for oxygen. Section 3, emergency triage, the rescue operation. We have our diagnosis. Now it's time for action. We're shifting from just identifying the problem to physically rescuing the plant. Let's head straight into emergency triage. Now, if your diagnosis is deep burial suffocation, which by the way is a huge problem for crops like durian, you've got to excavate, but you must do it safely without completely destroying the remaining roots. Step 1, break the basin around the tree. Step 2, gently scrape the soil away from the base of the trunk until you expose the very top of the old root ball. Step 3, create a conical drainage ditch that slopes outward, kind of like a traditional conical hat. You want gravity doing the work so the water flows away from the trunk, completely freeing that suffocating root collar. But what if your diagnosis is an active fungal infection? Well, that requires emergency chemical intervention to stop the rot dead in its tracks. Our sources highlight some highly effective fungicides for this exact scenario. Rildzomygal Super 68 WG, which has mincozeb and metalaxyl M, as well as Emistar Top and Validacin 3SL. The protocol here is to apply 1 to 2 liters of the diluted solution directly to the root area and then repeat this every 15 days until that infection is totally cleared out. Section 4, rehabilitation diet, recovering weak plants. All right, the emergency surgery is over. We've cleared the soil and stopped the fungus. Now, let's shift the narrative to the recovery room. Let me ask you a question that trips up a lot of really well-meaning growers. Should you apply heavy chemical fertilizers to a weak, sick tree to help it bounce back quickly? I mean, the instinct is yes, right? Feed it so it grows. Actually, scratch that. The answer is a massive, resounding no. Doing that causes what is known as fertilizer toxicity. Think about it like this. Giving heavy synthetic fertilizer to a plant with severely compromised, damaged roots is exactly like feeding a massive, heavy steak to someone recovering from the stomach flu. It doesn't nourish them at all. It makes them violently ill. Those damaged roots simply cannot absorb the heavy salts, so the roots actually burn, pushing the plant even closer to death. So the absolutely crucial point is this contrast here. Avoid chemical fertilizers entirely during recovery. Instead, you've got to apply biostimulants. Our sources heavily recommend beneficial microbes, often called supermicrobes or COV-sing, and amino acids. These act as the perfect, gentle rehab diet. The microbes balance the soil biology, and the amino acids provide the exact building blocks those roots need to generate fresh, healthy cells without causing any burn whatsoever. It's a real game changer. Section 5. Preventative medicine, planting techniques and substrates. We've saved the patient, but a good doctor makes sure the patient doesn't end up back in the hospital, right? Let's talk about preventative medicine. It all starts with how you actually put the seedling in the ground in the first place, and it heavily depends on your geography. In highland areas, you should only cover the root ball with about 1 to 2 centimeters of soil. Never, ever bury the stem. But in flat delta regions where water tends to pool, you must plant level with the ground and build a raised mound, shaped kind of like a turtle shell, right around the base. This guarantees that water drains away and the root collar never sinks and suffocates. Now look at how we can actually engineer the soil itself to prevent rot before it even starts. Here are your ultimate drainage substrate mix ratios. For your leafy greens and seedlings, you want a really light, airy mix. 30% clean soil, 30% perlite, and 40% organics like treated cocoa peat. For flowers and ornamentals that need just a bit more physical structure, go with 60% soil and organics, balanced out with 20% perlite and 20% pumice. These ratios create the absolute perfect porous environment for your plants. And this brilliantly illustrates the specific ingredients you should be using. Think of these as your structural soil superstars. Carbonized rice hulls, they provide incredible aeration. Treated cocoa peat holds on to moisture but completely prevents rot. Perlite, which is that expanded volcanic glass, guarantees porosity. And fun fact, it actually pops just like popcorn when it's being manufactured. Finally, pumice provides long-term, uncrushable structure. Mixing these into your soil is literally the ultimate insurance policy against compaction and waterlogging. We've covered a massive amount of ground today, from diagnosing the silent killer of root rot to safe excavation to engineering the perfect breathing soil. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder the next time you step out into your yard. Is your garden breathing, or is it drowning underground? Remember, a healthy, beautiful, thriving harvest always begins with a free and breathing root collar. Take a closer look at your plant spaces today.